Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our session today. I'm super excited to have you here and to tell you all about how you can automate with Adobe and Microsoft 365. I'd like to say thank you for everyone here in the audience, as well as everyone coming here online. We appreciate you coming, and I'm really excited to show you some of the cool things that we're doing. Now, just to let everybody know, we are also going to be doing a Q&A session at the end of this. So if you have any questions, please go and drop your questions in the room. There's some QR codes you can drop in there to answer your questions, and online you can drop them in there, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. So as a matter of introductions, I'm Ben Vanderberg. I'm Principal Platform Evangelist at Adobe. I focus on our Document and Creative Cloud applications. I'll be walking through the first part of this session today, and then later I'll be joined by Stella, Vamsi, and Rakesh to do a roundtable and talk about some of the ways that we see the future and where we're going with document automation. And I'll let them introduce themselves when they come on. So we have 3 goals as part of the session today. The first one is to see. We want you to see some of the cool examples of how Adobe and Microsoft are creating some cool integrations in some of the apps that you use every day, like Microsoft Teams. How many people use Microsoft Teams? Awesome, wow. For everyone online, that was a full house there. So we'll see some of the integrations within there. And the second thing, we'll also see some of the ways that you can have some new opportunities. How many people use Power Automate out there? All right, well, you'll see some of the opportunities of how you can work with your experience with Power Automate and how you can work with Adobe customers. And then we'll have that roundtable to learn more from some of our awesome experts. All right, so give a little bit of a introduction to what we do at Adobe. I'm sure it's very familiar to many of you, but we really have 3 goals. One is around unleashing creativity. Some of you might know it as Photoshop, Illustrator, or Adobe XD, or many of the different applications we use and we help our customers do, from 3D to 2D design to video. We have those tools to help you. And if you also checked on some of the keynote stuff, you also saw some of the cool things that we're also doing with Copilot there. The second area is with accelerating document productivity. This is where we help you with being able to view, edit, as well as capture electronic signatures on PDF documents, as well as be able to even parse information out of your data that you have inside of PDF documents and turn that into structured data. That's part of what we call Adobe Document Cloud, and we have some cool stuff to show there. And the third area is Adobe Experience Cloud, which is about driving and powering your digital business from content management to analytics, as well as e-commerce platforms, and help you in that area. And all in these different areas, one of the great things about our partnership with Microsoft is that all of these hook into Microsoft 365 and Azure. So the area that we're going to focus on today is in the area of Adobe Document Cloud. And just to give you a little bit of information and some stats here, 60%, this was according to Forrester, 60% of documents are not optimized for automation. And if only they were able to optimize that process, that could increase efficiency by 48%. We also saw that, contrary to sometimes popular belief, 92% of documents online that are publicly facing are editable. If you didn't know, PDFs are actually editable. And so sometimes people think that PDFs can't be edited. It can be, and that can actually present a risk, and we want to help with that. And then the other thing we've also seen is that 46% of PDFs online are not tagged and optimized for accessibility. And it's all of our responsibility to make sure that content on the web and everywhere is optimized so that everyone can access, read, and view our content. So how can we help solve this? Well, we have a few things for that. But first, just to give you kind of the magnitude of this here, there are trillions upon trillions of PDFs out there in your emails, in the cloud, and the web. And in fact, 40% of all documents in Outlook are actually PDF as attachments. And what we believe is that PDFs are a container of intelligence. You should be able to extract and get that information out, and it should be connected to the way that you work today. You should be able to work with your documents where you work today, which is one of the reasons why we have integrated directly into Microsoft 365 into all the common applications that you use every day, like Microsoft Teams, Word, Outlook, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and so forth. So bringing the tools to where you work. But it goes beyond that, because the reality in an enterprise is that you have all sorts of different applications. So we want to make it easy for you to be able to connect those to any of the different systems within your organization, within your ecosystem. So the first-party applications that people usually think about in this area are Acrobat solutions, which we have on desktop, web, and mobile that help you view, edit PDFs, and capture e-signatures. But what we've done is we've taken a lot of our experiences and created our Acrobat Services API platform that helps facilitate end-to-end digital document workflows, from being able to create a document, take the data that you have in your data system, and intelligently create that like a contract, add and remove different sections based on that data, and then capture electronic signature on that document. But not just any electronic signature, one that might meet the strictest requirements for governments and other regulated industries. The third area is making sure that we can take our PDF content and make it accessible for people with screen readers, using our AI technologies to take that unstructured data in those PDFs and turn them into structured data that you can use and that is optimized for those readers. Fourth area is being able to also protect those documents. Make sure that we can ensure the authenticity of documents, that they are not only the right person to be able to access those documents, but also they came from the authorized party. And that's where like our Seal API makes that available. Then we also help by making it possible for you to be able to extract information out of PDF documents. One of the biggest challenges that people have with PDF documents is that it can have a lot of unstructured data. Why? Well, a lot of times it's a scanned document, or it came from different systems, and it mostly was based on viewing, but you want to be able to extract that information out. Sometimes it doesn't have that structure. Until now, where we have our PDF Extract API that can help turn that into that structured data just the same way as the Accessibility Auto Tag API can help facilitate that. And then finally, we also have our Embed API, so you can embed viewing and annotation experiences directly within your applications. Now, why does this matter? Well, we've used this to help facilitate our first-party apps, but we've also integrated across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, from inside of Microsoft Edge into OneDrive, SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams. Across the board, we have different apps that you can utilize, as well as the connectors into things like Power Automate to be able to work across those different applications. So to tell you a little bit more about this, I think it's kind of better to show things. Better to show things? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to see three things. One, we're going to see something around modern productivity. Second is document automation. And third is information protection and compliance. So to start off, we're going to start with modern productivity. And let's go over into Microsoft Teams, where what we have is we have a PDF document. And I think it's very common for someone to receive a PDF document, and you might download it to your computer, open it up, add some comments, upload it back into Teams, and that's kind of the conversation that happens. A lot of times that also happens in email too. But what we can do is make that a lot easier. So for example, what we can do is we can click on that PDF, and when we open it up, the default viewer in Teams can be Adobe Acrobat, which brings along all the tools that are available for us to be able to use in Acrobat as well. For example, I can go in and I can add, say, comments on the PDF document here. And this allows me to be able to collaborate just as I would an Office document. And it gives huge benefit for us to be able to collaborate real time on these PDF documents, because anything can be a PDF. So along with that, we can also use things like our tools for being able to draw on here. So we can take that and draw that on there to have a more natural experience to be able to draw, say, with your stylus on your surface. And the other thing is that if you're an Acrobat user today, the other thing you can also do is you can also bring the tools that we also have in Acrobat as well, where you can go on, and in there we have tools like being able to add and remove pages, edit. All those different actions are available for you to be able to use, and all those edits are also available and saved automatically into SharePoint, OneDrive, and so forth in Teams. So it makes it really easy for you to be able to collaborate directly on your PDF documents. Kind of cool? Awesome. All right, so what we just saw is that we can work with tools that are the tools that you work with every single day. And that was just one example. We also have tools inside of Word, inside of SharePoint, Dynamics, to really make it easy for you to not have to leave the environment that you're working in. We've also built these with the best-in-class tools with Microsoft Teams framework, as well as Microsoft Graph, to make it a great example. And that also extends across things like Creative Cloud, Workfront, Acrobat, Acrobat Sign, and so forth. And the reason that I wanted to show you this is that as developers, all of the things that we showed is like an example of some of the APIs you can use within your own applications to build inside of Microsoft apps or within your own applications. Those are APIs that are available for you to use. Second area is in document automation, and we have some really exciting things to share with that, because what we announced here at Microsoft Build is our new, inside of Acrobat Sign, we have workflow automation integrated with Microsoft Power Automate. What that means is that all of our Adobe Acrobat Sign customers now have Power Automate included so that they can create end-to-end digital document workflows from pre-signature, generating those documents, connecting to those different systems that are part of your document process, capture that electronic signature, and also post-process, whether it's needing to store those documents into different systems. And because of the 1,000+ connectors within Power Automate, it means that you can take advantage of all of those to create your end-to-end digital document workflow. And this is great for all of our Acrobat Sign customers. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like. So in Acrobat Sign that we see here, what you can do is we're going to send a document out in here, and it's inside of our options here. We can see Power Automate is an option for us to be able to see any of our agreements that we want to send out through this flow here. So when we send that out in here, this will then allow me to have more of a guided self-serve form for us to fill out any of the information that we want in here. Now, if you've ever sent a document for e-signature, it's usually the addresses, your uploadings, a lot like an email. But instead, this is much more of a guided experience that allows us to be able to choose different actions. And based on these actions, what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to be able to then use these to guide and change the workflow. For example, if the contract in this rate here equals a contract that's greater than, say, $10,000, maybe I need my VP to approve that before it goes out. And then I can route it to the appropriate people. Or I might also want to have this even more personalized. So we're going to go in here and we're going to upload a contract logo for our customer. So this is going to be Carvello here. We can choose that in there. And then we can hit Run Flow. Now, if we have a look at the flow inside of here, what this is going to do is it looks very natural because this is Power Automate embedded inside of Acrobat Sign, or integrated in here, so that you can see that it's using the SharePoint connector to be able to get the contract template. We also see that we have our Generate Document action here, which is using our document generation API as part of our Adobe PDF Services connector that can generate that document based on data. Now, along with that, if we go inside of here and open up the actions and we search for Adobe, what we're going to see in this is that There's a lot of different connectors for Adobe across Adobe PDF Services, AEM Forms, Acrobat Sign. And in the document area with PDF Services, we see all the different actions that are available, from being able to create, being able to export back into Office formats, being able to extract the information out of those PDFs. All that is available as actions inside of there. So if we then go in here and close that, we'll see that the next steps in the action are then the approval process, where we can have this dynamically route to the appropriate person, whether I want it to go to the VP for approval, or I want to go to just my account executive. And then it's going to route that document for e-signature, and then store that document inside of SharePoint. So the benefit of this is that I am able to build and design from the beginning to the middle and end of my document workflow. Now for the signer, what this is going to look like is they can receive an email for them to view and sign, or what they can do is they can also receive a notification inside of Teams using the Acrobat Sign connector for them to view and sign that personalized document directly on their phone that they can then simply sign without having to leave Teams. So the value of this is that, again, bringing the tools to where you work, but also automating each step through that, all integrated inside of Acrobat Sign. So we saw that we could do end-to-end document workflows. We're able to include that directly into Acrobat Sign. So all of our Acrobat Sign customers now are Power Automate users as well. And the reason that this is important for developers, all of you, is that now you have a new audience for your skill set, where you've been working with Power Automate for years. Now Adobe customers need that skill set, and so we welcome you to come work with our customers to build those document workflows. The third area is in information protection. So inside of Acrobat here, what we have done is we have gone in and we have taken Microsoft Purview Information Protection, and we've integrated it into Acrobat so that if you go in, you can apply security labels into your document. And so when you authenticate, it'll allow you to be able to apply your tags directly in your document, so you can choose whether you want to have that for a specific person or based on your policies inside of Microsoft Purview Information Protection. Now, the other benefit of this is that you can also set the different settings in here. So for each of these, you can set things like an expiration date. You can also set whether someone is able to view or able to print or able to edit those documents inside of there. So once you complete that and you share that, you can also set things like headers and footers or watermarks. So when you apply that on the document, what it's going to do is it'll take that from the policy inside of Microsoft Purview. Now, one more example and one more demo we have here is in the example of accessibility. So with accessibility, one of the challenges is with those PDFs that are unstructured, having to remediate that can take a lot of time. We made that much easier using our new PDF Accessibility Auto Tag API, which is also conveniently integrated into Microsoft Power Automate. So within here, if we look at this PDF document, we'll see that we have a lot of different things. We have headers, or we have footers, we have tables. But if we look at the actual tags in the document, we'll see that there's 0 tags for accessibility. So that it means a screen reader might not know the right reading order in the document, and it might be difficult to have details in there. So what we can do is inside of then Power Automate, we can actually create an automated action. So in here, what we're going to do is we're going to take these files here, we're going to drop them into the folder here, and this is going to trigger a Power Automate flow that is super simple because it's basically 3 actions. Get the files, tag them with accessibility tags, and save them into OneDrive here. So when we take that and put that back into the OneDrive, and we look at what the result is, and we open up that PDF, we will then see that it has the tags inside that document that are not just tags, but it has structure. It was able to understand what are the headers, the footers, the tables inside this document. All of that is applied in there. And the other great thing is that it would be great if I could take that structure and then also export that out if I want to use that information elsewhere. And that same structure is available as part of our PDF Extract API to use that with your own systems too. So we're helping people by optimizing with screen readers. We're also helping by being able to extract that information out. So we saw that we can apply security labels to the documents. Awesome. Second, we can ensure that documents are accessible. Even more awesome. And third, I did not show this, but I do want to touch on this. We can make sure that documents are also sealed with a digital certificate so we can verify the authenticity of the document. And what that means is that if you have invoices or certificates that you open that up, you want to make sure that those are authentic. They came from the right party. And we have our CLA API that can help authenticate and ensure that those documents are stamped and that you know it's legit and it came from that party there. So with that, what I'd love to do is kind of some cool stuff that you just saw, right? Yeah. So what we would love to do now is talk a little bit more about where are we going? What are some of the things that we're going to be doing with that? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite my esteemed guests here to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to have them come up here, and I'll have them introduce themselves, and let's have a little bit of a powwow asking some questions. So come on up. All right, so Stella, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, great, thank you, Ben. Hey, I'm Stella Chernyak. I am leading Document Cloud Enterprise Product Marketing team, and I'm thrilled to talk about Document Cloud to all the people in the room. Thank you, and all people who are viewing us online, right in real time on demand.
Vamsi?
Hi, everyone. I'm Vamsi Vutukuru. I head product management for Adobe Acrobat Sign. Really excited to be here and looking forward to the discussion.
Rakesh, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rakesh. I'm a product manager with the Microsoft Power Automate team. I've been working closely with Vamsi and his team for the last few months. Excited to share some things with you.
Awesome. I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us a little bit about some of the cool things that are going to be happening. Speaking of which, Vamsi, your team has worked on some of the cool integrations that we saw today within Microsoft 365. What are some of the other ways that Adobe has been integrating within Microsoft 365?
Yeah, absolutely. As most of you folks know, Microsoft is a strategic partner for Adobe, and we have been deeply driving integrations with various Microsoft products and across all the three dimensions that you talked about, Ben: modern productivity, document automation, and information security. So instead of listing all these integrations, let me just take 2 or 3 examples. So something which was not shown in the demo today, a very cool feature is all of you spend a lot of time on Teams. Now with Acrobat Sign, which is deeply integrated inside Teams, you don't have to leave your workspace. You can get notifications about agreements that you need to sign. You can go ahead and start an agreement workflow right inside Teams. Another example is Microsoft Dynamics. There are sales reps and sales managers and so on who use Microsoft Dynamics day in and day out. And if they have to send agreements, they don't have to leave their interface. They can do that directly inside Microsoft Dynamics for sending agreements for signature. Another example is Microsoft Edge. Recently, we launched the ability to natively view. So the PDF, the Adobe Acrobat PDF engine is now enabled as part of Microsoft Edge. So when you open a PDF document, you can actually see it inside the latest PDF engine and with the latest capabilities. And there are many more. I think the key point here is we do have a strategic partnership with Microsoft, And we do continue to plan to invest to make sure that we bring our capabilities to where our customers are, to the applications and tools that our customers are most familiar with, and drive more adoption and usage.
So you mentioned actually the Edge integration, and one of the things that I absolutely love about it is the fact that you can also edit PDFs directly inside of Acrobat in Edge. You're not downloading to your computer to have to do that. You can just do it right inside the browser there, which is awesome. The other thing that is also kind of cool about that is also Acrobat Sign's also integrated into Teams approvals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can actually have that as part of your approval processes, which I find great. Stella, you have a very unique perspective because you've been working with enterprises for over 20 years. From your perspective, with Microsoft 365 users, why do you think it's really important for them to use Document Cloud tools within Microsoft 365?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Indeed, if we think about PDF documents, those documents very often contain high-value business information. You can think about financial statements people say sent to Security Exchange Commission, or employee agreements, supplier contracts, or product blueprints. So there is an amazing amount of knowledge and information that resides in these documents. And so companies really look for ways to how to make this information work for their business better and inform business decisions, which means that we really want companies' users to be able to work with these documents securely, productively, in the context of how they do their work, day in, day out. As you said, Ben, in your session, and Vamsi just mentioned, in the context of their work and where modern work happens today, it's Microsoft 365, it is Teams, files sit on companies, SharePoint and OneDrive portals. So we're bringing these tools right in the middle, in the center, to make sure it happens in the flow of work, for efficiency, for security, for all these reasons.
I know for myself, I have like a zillion browser tabs open on a daily basis just for all the different applications that I'm using. So the fewer amount of tabs that I have to have, or the fewer amount of apps that are down on my taskbar, the better that is. Rakesh, you've been working really closely with Adobe on some of the things around Power Automate. So from your perspective, what's your perspective on the angle that maybe Vamsi was just talking about?
Yeah, in fact, both Vamsi and Stella touched on it. It's really about bringing an integrated experience to the end user so that there is as fewer context switches as possible. In fact, that's the principle we do for our first-party integration. For example, as you saw earlier, most of you are using Teams, right? The workflow engine within Teams is Microsoft Power Automate. So it's natively built into Power Automate. So our vision is that we are bringing in the same capability of integrated automation engine to Adobe Acrobat Sign users, so that users, like you mentioned, don't have to open a new tab. You don't have to purchase a different license. It's all integrated right there where you manage your e-signature solutions.
Yeah, so I've had the great opportunity of being able to play with this for a few months now, and I absolutely love it because part of the challenge that I've heard from a lot of different customers is, you ask they'll ask the questions, when are you going to have an integration with this or integration with this? And I always am thinking, okay, so are we going to have to plan and scope that as a new thing? Are we going to have to support that as product managers and so forth? But having all those different connectors, the 1,000+ connectors, really makes it easy not just for us, but also for our customers to be able to talk to all those applications without waiting for like our development cycles to catch up with that.
Indeed.
Going on to a different lens here. So Stella, in the case of information protection, you were mentioning, or we were mentioning before, just how it's really cool that you can use information protection to protect documents. But like, why do you think that's important for organizations like right now?
I think that goes without saying. It's like probably document protection, information protection is like #1 priority for many of the enterprise customers we're talking to. Information is the currency of the business. And as we think about all kind of data companies need to protect, there is a lot of data formats and document formats. So any complexity creates security risk, any potential, right? And so what we did together with Microsoft, we integrated support for Microsoft Purview information protection in Adobe Acrobat. And so what it does really, if you think about the millions and probably hundreds of millions of those PDF documents sitting on companies' SharePoints, companies can now treat PDFs same manner they are treating Microsoft 365 documents, whether it's Word, Excel, what have you, and apply consistently apply same access control, same communication and sharing policies, and whatever needed. And by streamlining that, by helping companies standardize, we definitely feel like we help them protect information, help them streamline information protection and security of these documents and compliance. And I was just like, I don't think I need to remind anybody, but I was just reading about data breaches and financial costs and damages to company image when data breaches do happen. It's like somewhere like around $9 million in 2022. So top priority, and we're working with Microsoft together to make it easier, to make it more straightforward.
That's awesome. Because I know that you hear some of these horror stories about how these different data leaks end up getting posted online, and that can cause millions of dollars of impact on businesses. I was curious, so Vamsi, as the product manager on the, walk us through a little bit of, from your perspective, why did we choose to integrate with Power Automate within Adobe Acrobat Sign?
Yeah. Let me take a step back and work backwards from the customer.
Yeah.
So agreements don't exist in isolation inside any organization. There are business users who are creating agreements, and typically there is a business workflow which happens, and then the agreement gets sent for signature, and then there's another business process which happens after the agreement comes back. So there is clearly a pre-signing, signing, and post-signing workflow which exists behind each and every single agreement. An example being, like, say, a sales NDA, right, where you're populating the right content inside the NDA before it gets sent out for signature. And when it comes back, you want to share it in a secure location. And what we were realizing is a lot of our customers, they were doing this heavy lift of doing the integration a priori before the agreement gets sent for signature and post-signature. And this can involve involving their IT teams, right, spinning up an IT project to do this workflow integration, which all increases the cost, right, and actually slows down business, right? And it's a problem for business users. So that was the first problem that we were planning to solve, right? Which is, how do you make this business user friendly so that it's fundamentally no code, right? Or very low code, right? Which is reduce the dependency on IT teams, which are overburdened, right? With the numerous projects they have. So that was the main focus that we had. And as we were looking at, hey, what is the right way to enable this? It was becoming clear that, hey, we have to bring this capability inside Acrobat Sign, because, again, business users, they already know how to use Sign. You don't want them to learn another tool, yet another tool, jump to some other application, right, and do this process. Yeah. So those were the two guiding design principles. And then as we looked at, hey, what is the platform, right, which provides this kind of flexibility, right? And there, it was pretty obvious, right, because Power Automate, as you mentioned in your own presentation, it has 1,000+ connectors, very deep ecosystem, right, of partners, right, who have built these integrations with them, and most importantly, the deep integration that we already have with Acrobat Sign, so we could leverage that and bring that inside the app itself.
You mentioned some of the challenges there. We've actually been using that within Adobe for a little while. Stella, there were some examples of how we were using that within Adobe as well for solving some of our internal use cases, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes. For our own legal department, right, where essentially did a lot of work integrating essentially, our legal department was going multiple ways and trying to see how we can. I think 36,000 agreements or something like that number. And there are a lot of clauses and a lot of pieces of these agreements that get repeated and sometimes modified slightly. So clearly an opportunity to efficiency. And so what they did, they look at our doc generation APIs and our extract APIs to effectively, like as we were saying earlier, to have that data work for the company and drive efficiency, to see how they can use the information that is residing in the pre-existing PDFs to help generate PDF agreements, to help with these Acrobat Services APIs, generate new agreements more efficiently and faster. And I think the estimate is, I believe it's published, that case is published for everybody to read, estimated like 50% time has been saved. They have been doing it for 3 years, and again, 36,000 agreements. And now we obviously are trying to see how we can use these learnings to help other companies as well.
Awesome. Yeah. I was thinking, Rakesh, you've had a lot of perspective because Power Automate goes very broad. Did you want to add anything to some of the perspectives on that?
Yeah, especially to what Vamsi was mentioning earlier, right? So if you think about the life cycle, right? So there's a lot of automations that are valuable in a pre, during, and post-signature events. But these automations don't exist in an isolation. So once you create it, as Vamsi was noting, you don't have IT to build it for you. You don't have IT to maintain it for you. Yeah. So we really need to enable the full life cycle of the automations for business users, for citizen developers, right? So it's not just about the automation creation, but then how do you collaborate with your coworkers? Hey, if you want to help integrating or adding a complex connector, maybe there's an expert in your team whom you can collaborate with that is natively enabled through this integration, right? Or it's about sometimes automations do fail, right? So then you don't have IT to go support. So as a business user, how do you go manage the automation and see, hey, what failed? How do I just make this adjustment and make sure it autocorrects itself, right? So it's the full gamut that to ensure that it's as low touch a process as possible, and it inherently saves a lot of time for the company without involving a costly IT process.
I've actually heard that a lot from our customers, which is we would love to do this. We'd love to integrate with this, but my IT is not going to support this, or we can't find the developers to that. So it's been a real benefit to our customers to be able to use that, and something that someone who is tech savvy can go through there. They don't have to be a developer to integrate that and also maintain that. I've found that has been like a light bulb for a lot of our customers. I wanted to shift gears a little bit, Vamsi. I was curious in the area of we touched on Seal, but we didn't get to lean in on that a little bit more. And a lot of the things that we're trying to solve with that is around content authenticity. Making sure that content is coming from the same sources. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what we're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. When we look at content authenticity, the broader problem that we are trying to solve is security, trust, and identity, right? That's a broader problem we are trying to solve. And we take that very seriously. In fact, from an Acrobat Sign standpoint, this is a very foundational capability, right? This is a capability on which the entire Sign product is built. And specifically regarding Seal, the way, again, you had a statistic that you were showing very earlier in the slide deck where you said that about 42% was it, right, where documents, right, they can actually be tampered with, right, where there's an integrity issue with the document. Or it was 92%. Yeah. Okay, 92%, right, documents are there. So the key question, and many of our customers face this problem is, hey, I'm publishing these documents, and these documents can be invoices, right? Or they can be certificates, right? Like say, for example, education institutions offering certificates and so on. The certificates are available everywhere online. So not very difficult for people to create, right, and tamper with these documents, especially in this day and age. With electronic sealing, what we are giving the capability is, hey, with a simple API, you can, every document that you publish, right, you can digitally sign with a signature, and you'll have a visual representation, right, that this document has been originally created and stamped by the respective organization, right, the original organization. And if that document gets tampered with, the seal is broken, so to speak, right? And if you open it inside, like say an Adobe Reader, it'll actually show that, hey, this document has been tampered with, right? The original seal has been broken. So what we are seeing is this particular functionality, it seems so simple, right? But it is critically, it's fundamental, right, to maintain the reputation, right, and the integrity of the documents that many of our customers are creating, right, and publishing to the entire world.
So we had a question that came in that was actually around that whole topic of protection, which is around Purview integration. And does that replace like a password in the context of protecting PDFs?
Yeah, I think the way I would look at it is these are all different layers of security that you want to enable,
Yep.
right? The password capability is, in some sense, the first layer, right? Or the first defense, you may say, in terms of securing your documents. The Microsoft MPIP, Purview Information Protection, that provides more sophisticated kind of capabilities. To give an example, like in many companies, right? There is a data management and there is a data protection policy, right, which talks about, hey, these type of documents are confidential. These type of documents are red data. Red data as in they have critical customer information, right, in those documents. Or these type of documents are not only confidential, but they are actually secret in the sense that they actually have trade secrets, right? Under no circumstances you want them to leak. So with MPIP, you can add different layers of security, right? So for example, it starts with even classifying the document, right? Which is, hey, what is this document about, right? Where you can again use Acrobat technology, right, to help you in the classification, and which you can automatically tell, hey, is this confidential, is this restricted, or is this red data, right? First of all, which is tagging the data, it's tagging the document itself. The second piece is, okay, the document is tagged, so what? It again goes back to the company's data retention policy and data protection policy, which is, hey, confidential data, these type of users can access. Red data, only these type of users can access. So this is where you can use MPIP to set those policies, actually put those policies in action. And once you do that, it actually gets enabled, right? And works seamlessly using the Adobe Reader and Acrobat technologies.
That's awesome. So we're going to actually have to start wrapping up, but I want to take a moment to just say thank you for all of you for taking the time to talk to us about some of this stuff. I think it's really exciting where we're going and some of the things that we've been doing. I mean, it just makes me just really excited. Can we give them a hand for a second? Awesome. So just as a reminder, for people coming from online, go over to the Partner Showcase where you can learn more. Check out some of the demos where you can see where you can utilize and get started with some of these, as well as connect with us. And for those of you who are here in the audience, also feel free to connect with us. We're going to be, once we get off mic and everything, we'll be down in the expert meetup room over on the third floor, where we'd be happy to show you some more demos, answer any questions. But with that, thank you so much for coming to the session. We were really happy to have you here, and have a good rest of Microsoft Build.